All right. All right, finding the critical points. Quadratics. Here we have three different types of quadratic equations, all of which produce the exact same parabola. So the factored form you can tell because it has two parentheses, and I'm going to use specifically this one. The A is a vertical stretch and shrink. Multiplying by 2 makes it appear skinnier, although it is actually, the parabola is becoming taller. Standard form, the A value, same A, but now we have B and C, which have different meanings altogether. And vertex form is same A again, it's a vertical stretch, but then H and K are the XY of the vertex. So in each of these cases, there's a slightly different approach for how to find the important information, say, for example, finding the roots. In the first case, factored form, the roots, by the way, occur when the y value equals 0. So if we take the equation, I have here 2x minus 3x minus 5, and we make the y value equal to 0, and we can see that the 2 in front doesn't do anything. And if either one of these factors were equal to 0, then the entire equation would be equal to 0 since it is multiplication. So if the factor x minus 3, if that were equal to 0, and it wouldn't matter what the other parts of the equation were, because when this is 0, everything multiplied together makes 0. So the first root occurs when x takes on the value 3, and we can see if we plug that in, it does in fact make 0. The second factor, x minus 5, is the next telling important piece of information here. X minus 5, we can see if x were the number 5, then the same effect would happen. And so we have our two roots in this case, x equals 3 and x equals 5. Now, if you want to instead find the y-intercept, that instead occurs when x is 0. And so we'll take the same exact equation and substitute 0 in for x. Solving for y, let's see, this would be, y would be equal to 2 times negative 3 times negative 5, which would be 2 times negative 6, negative 5 is positive 30. So the y-intercept is occurs when y equals 30. And if you wanted to find the vertex, that requires us to do a little investigation. What is halfway in between? If our roots are 3 and 5, that would make a parabola that, making a sketch here, looks something like this. At 3 and 5, the middle of this then, so the line of symmetry, is equal to 4. X is 4 here in the middle, and so the vertex here being in the very center occurs when x is 4. And so this is for this specific part here, we're going to find halfway between the x values, the roots, I mean. Okay, so that was x is 4. Now, we still have to go figure out what y value occurs when x is 4. So we're going to go ahead and plug x is 4 into the original equation right here. X is 4 and both x's. Y will be equal to 2 times 4 minus 3 and 4 minus 5. And let's see, this would be 2 times 1 times negative 1, or just negative 2. So y equals negative 2. As a coordinate point, typically we write 4, negative 2 here. That is the position of the vertex here. Let's go ahead and highlight that. Okay, from factored form, that's how you find the important information. And it's somewhat similar to the other forms here. All right, next form, the standard form with the A, B, and C. You know you have this because there's no parentheses, and you have an x that is squared and a regular x. Now, this is the quad formula. And let's go ahead and substitute those values A, B, and C. So quad formula is a method to solve for x. It's a pre-solved formula where we just plug in our numbers. So negative b, since b is already negative, a is 2, b is negative 16, and then c is 30 for the quad formula I'm about to perform. So negative of negative 16 is positive 16, plus or minus square root 16 squared minus 4 times 2 times 30 all over 2a, which is, let's just go ahead and do that now, 4. So if we go ahead and compute these things, that would be 16 plus or minus square root of 256. And you'll notice here I wrote 16 instead of negative 16. I tend to do that to avoid potential mistake, because when we square it, we always get a positive number. So I tend to get lazy on putting the negative in that particular part of the quadratic formula. All right, let's do minus 240 all over 4, and that's for x. Simplifies to 16 plus or minus, let's just do square root 16, oh, that's 4 over 4. So if we do the plus version here, that'd be 20 divided by 4, x is 5. We already knew that from the factored form version. If we do this again instead with the minus, that would be 12, that'd be x is 3. And so that should support some of the answers we found from the factored form. If you want to find the y-intercept, again, that's when x is 0. And if we substitute 0 in for x, y would be 2 times 0 squared minus 16 times 0 plus 30. And most of this is 0. In fact, the only thing that remains is this plus 30, and we can see y equals 30. And so standard form, just by looking at it, we can see the y-intercept is always this last number with no x. And that matches what we found from the factored form equation. If you want to find the vertex, the x of the vertex is negative b over 2a. It's just the first part of the quadratic formula. And so if we use this, b is negative 16, a equals 2 from up above here. X then would be positive 16 over 4, or just plain 4. So x equals 4, and then we can see, well, that's supported by our other form, factored form. X is 4. We still have to plug that back in. So y equals 2 times 4 squared minus 16 times 4 plus 30. Okay, 2 times 4 squared is 32, minus 16 times 4 is 64, and plus 30. And so we can see, well, we have 62 minus 64, y equals negative 2. And again, that matches our other answer here. So the vertex is at 4, negative 2. And that formula, so again, first part of the quadratic formula, that's just to find the vertex. Okay, last form is vertex form. I got 2x minus 4. I had plus earlier, but in order for it to match up, this change that to a minus so that they're all the same parabola that is. And the format for this equation is x minus h. And so this is in the same format within the parentheses, but then on the end it's a plus k and this is a minus. That'll come into play later. If you want to find the roots, again, y equals 0. So we have 0 equals 2x minus 4 squared minus 2. And we have our classic algebra 1 solving. We're going to add 2 to both sides. Don't distribute this 2 because it's not squared. It does not go into this part of the parentheses that is squared. Instead, we divide by 2 to make a 2 divided by 2. X minus 4 squared. And now this thing, when the x minus 4 part of this could be equal to 1. And when you square it, you get 1. Or x minus 4, this part of the equation could be equal to negative 1, and when you square it, it would produce 1. So we need to consider both options. X minus 4 could also be equal to negative 1, since both of those, when you square them, if you squared both sides, it would equal to 1. In the first case, we add 4, so x is 5. In the second case, again, add 4, but this time x is 3. So the right here, when you square roots, is a operation. It's a solving procedure. Whenever that step occurs, that is when you get 2 different answers, and your next step would be plus or minus 1 equals x minus 4. So if the problem is a little bit different, that's how you account for that. And then we move forward with the first version, x minus 4 equals plus 1, and then do it again with the minus, x minus 4 equals negative 1. And that's how we do it with 2 roots, just to make sure we get both of them and not just the first one, we get both. Okay, and again, same as before, but a little bit easier to solve that out. Okay, the y-intercept, x is 0, so we got y equals 2, 0 minus 4 squared minus 2. And we're just going to go ahead and simplify that. So y equals 2, negative 4 being squared is 16, positive, and 32, and the minus 2, y equals 30. Okay, so it doesn't matter which equation you have, you just x is 0. Last one, the xy of the vertex is the h and k of the vertex form. So we don't need any solving, you just need a little bit of knowledge here. Since the format, the h is the x of the vertex, and it's already a minus, and our equation matches minus minus. It's the same, it looks the same. So 4 is the h value, and that matches our other parts here. X equals 4, and then y is the k, but it's supposed to be plus here in the format of vertex form, but we have a minus, so that, think of that as a double negative. The y equals negative 2, because of the negative 2, it'd be like plus negative 2. So I guess not necessarily a double negative, but just that it's plus a negative. Okay, so, and then it's traditional to answer in the form of a coordinate pair. It's the vertex. Okay, and there you have it.